to start again. Okay, so we continue this block number 3, no, but the second part when we are going to talk about apostolic means. So this morning we looked through the 3 questions. One is about what are the means themselves for accompaniment. Then the second part was about the itinerary of accompaniment of a person or a community. And then also we looked at the essential structures of a community, an environment that is formative. So these 3 elements are very important to consider in creating any formation project, which is basically Verbum Dei. Verbum Dei is about making formation projects because our whole paradigm of life, paradigm of mission is school of apostles, a constant formation and preparation for mission. So somehow our whole life is about formation, of course, not only in the formal teaching kind of formation, but as a lifestyle. So this afternoon, we're going to focus more, I was promising, a more practical aspect, which is making the project itself. So we've already seen the 3 elements, and we're going to try to make a project this afternoon. So I will try to explain this in maybe 30, 45 minutes, hopefully. And the rest of the afternoon will be for group work and presentation, okay, and discussion, of course. Okay, so I mean, it'll be nice if we can really make a project, although it's a short time to do it. So what I would suggest is we just do what we can, and then we can have a discussion to explain, to discuss different factors, why we did it that way. In terms of grouping, I would suggest we can do it by Philippines and Taiwan. Or I don't know because if you do it together, I don't know what kind of project will come out. Some will have the Taiwanese context, some have Filipino context. It may be very different. So I'm not sure if you're able to come up with a project like that. But maybe what we can do to make it more enriching is that we can present our projects after we do them. So perhaps we can do it like that. Philippines and Taiwan, and then we exchange and we discuss. Okay, any complaints, suggestions, or if it's okay, we will. Anyway, just think about it. I will move through. If you can give me a better proposal, more practical, I'm open. But if not, we're going to go with that. Okay. So, anyways, this because the point is to really make a project. Okay. So, okay, now just explain a little bit how we're going to do this and what is the specific method we are going to use. Okay, there are many methods of making a project, we know, but mine is, or the one that I learned and have tried, is very simple but precise. Okay, very simple and precise. So it's what I would call 10 questions method. Okay, actually, I got this from Mexico when I was there, just to recognize the persons behind. It was Ramon Cortez. Some of you know him. Ramon Cortez was trying to make our charism a bit more practical by showing us how to make a project, not just the spiritual side. So let's try to look at this. Can somebody read this? What is this all about?
First point, answering essential questions that make you consider all the dimensions of an apostolic project as exhaustively as possible. Second point, to assure that it has been as well thought through as possible. Third, the advantage of writing it down, a way of continual communication, constructive contribution, and specific evaluation.
Okay, thanks, Rudy. So just explain a bit here. Why are we using this method? First, it's a very exhaustive method to answer all the questions that you need to answer, so that you will really consider every factor possible. So as you start the project, it doesn't mean that it's the perfect project, but at least it means you have already considered that factor when things don't work out, and you know what to adjust, or at least you can evaluate your work better. No? So this is the first, no? As exhaustive as possible to answer the questions. Second, to assure that it has been as well thought through as possible. So not only to exhaust all the different categories, but to really consider the implications of each category in terms of your vision. Remember, the most important thing is your vision, but to put it into practice. So to try to combine vision and theory and the practice and the reality. No? So in that sense, to go deep, no, in those factors. And lastly, which is one of the things that I think is most important for me, because the first two is relative, no. Uh, it depends, no, on each person, personality, or the community, how much you need to reflect. But the third point here is the advantage when you write down something, it's a way also of communicating it. So when somebody says, can you repeat? Send the document again. Okay, so you have to keep on repeating and repeating. Sometimes in meetings, as we were saying just now, we talk and we talk and we talk. Nobody writes minutes and we forget what we have talked about. So when we write something down, it's there, it's written. Like Pontius Pilate, no, what is written is written. So if somebody says, when did we talk about that? Look, it's written there. Okay, so it's very helpful for a continuous communication of a stable project. Second, it's also easy for constructive contribution. When you write it down, along the way, somebody can review it and say, hey, I think this point doesn't work. Okay, let's correct that point. We're not going to throw away the whole project. We're not going to change everything just because a new person comes or there's a new responsible, new missionary. But let's correct that point so that contribution can become very constructive to the project because the rest is written. So we adjust, we don't throw and we don't change everything. And lastly, you can do a very specific evaluation if it's written down. So you try it for half a year, you try it for 1 year, and then you can identify, no, what is the point that is not working here? So being very specific and not just sometimes, no, we do corrections based on emotions. Sometimes the worst time to do evaluation is when you're tired. Everything is negative, everything didn't work. The only person who did well was the Holy Spirit or yourself, no? But everything else was a disaster. So sometimes we are so based on our emotional state of mind or whatever. So when it's written down, we can be very concrete, specific about what really went wrong and what went well as well. No, so that's why I think it's important to write down our projects for the sake of this communication, constructive criticism or contribution, and very specific evaluation or improvement, no, of the project. Uh, okay, so it's not just yes or no this project, but it's how are we going to do it. So okay, so this is somehow the justification of this method. I would like to present to you a sample project of a growing apostolate. Okay, this is a very subjective work, but it's something that you could look at. So now I would like you to do a reading exercise. All right. Could you go to your Dropbox? I have the document there. It's called sample. No, wait, hold on. I'll just share it. You can take a look at this. Meanwhile, maybe does Jojo, do you have the link for the Dropbox? I think it's there also in the Batasan group. But just let me. Okay.
I think I still don't have.
Can one of Jello or Rudy, can you just forward it to Jojo?
Yes.
Yeah, it's there. So it's strange. It's not sharing. Is it sharing? Yes, it is, right? Okay. So
Okay.
just look for this sample apostolic project. There, no. In the block number three. Let me go back so that at least we can all see where it is. So this is the Dropbox, right? So just choose Theology of Apostolic Method, block 3, principal means of the apostolate, and sample apostolic project. Oops, wrong one. Sample apostolic project. So, okay, this is it. Can we just spend about 10 minutes to read it? Briefly, okay, you don't have to analyze it too much. Just read it so that we can get a sense of the 10 questions, all right? So we can do this. Anybody has a problem with getting the document? Anyone? Okay, so if you have it, just read it for about 10 minutes, and then we can analyze the questions, and you can do your work. Okay, so let's go back a little to these slides. Okay, this was the sample project that we made for Cebu. No, I can't remember which year it was. Some time ago. Yeah, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. And yeah, it's just presenting it as a possible way to approach any project. No, so just to go through those 10 questions, I think my whole idea of letting you read that is for us to see how we can answer those questions as much as possible and to see that these questions are all related to each other. No, but when we try to attack it from all angles, we make the project more concise and doable. No, so that it's not just in very big ideas or in very small areas, but that it really formulates something that is that you can hold on to, but it's not too ambitious, but at the same time, uh, very efficiency oriented. No, you really want results, and that you can evaluate. No, so let's try to go through these questions a little bit, and then you can have time to do your projects. Okay. So let's see. No, it's very simple now. Actually, think about it. What? So what? Why? For whom? So it's a little bit more than the temario. All right. There's what? There's why. There's for whom. I just go through very quickly. Okay. Don't mind me. Just there's a how also, but not just how to do it, but how much you want to achieve. There is also when are you going to do it? Where are you going to do it? Who are you counting on to do it with? Which resources do you need? And from whom are you going to ask these resources? Okay, so there may be more than 10 questions, but if you really can answer these 10, I think more or less you have quite an elaborated project already. Okay, so let me just go back again to explain in a bit more detail. Oops. Okay, what? The vision statement. Now, this is sounds very corporate world kind of language, but sometimes we need that. What is the vision statement? And the overall projection and desire that can easily be summarized. This is very important. Easily summarized and promoted among other members of the family or fraternity. So sometimes we have such a vision that we have to say it in 3 pages that we don't know at the end what to take from it. No, so it must be very well summarized so that you can like key phrases, that you can explain easily, all right, to others. Some of us find it easier to do this kind of synthesis statement, some a bit more challenging, but it's for everyone, no, to learn how to synthesize what is your vision. If I ask you now, what is the vision statement of Verbum Day? What is it? What is the vision of Verbum Day of Jaime Bonet? Think very carefully, okay? Vision, not the mission, okay, but vision of Jaime Bonet.
Make disciples of all nations.
Make disciples of all nations. Any other attempt?
Perform apostles. Kingdom of God. Create kingdom of God.
Kingdom of God. Any other proposals? Form apostles? What's that? Chris?
Constitution number 1.
Constitutions number 1. Any other proposals?
Well, agree.
All of it is the vision statement.
I was thinking about the kingdom of God where everyone is there, like different cultures, different ages, things like that. Constitution number 1.
Same also, Constitution number 1.
Uh-huh. Okay. Any other proposals? What is really the vision? I'm not talking about the mission statement. I'm not talking about the objectives of the community, because sometimes we mix that up. Okay, the vision has to be big enough to lead you to do the mission and to fulfill the objectives and goals of that mission. So when we say this is the charism, sometimes we're so vague, we don't know we're talking about the mission or the objectives or the goals or the vision. So I don't want to say which is the vision, you have to check it properly. Of course, it's in the identity, but sometimes we go too quickly to number one, I think. There's something, if you go down, you can really see what is the vision of Jaime Bonet based on what we've been talking about these days. Okay, why family? Okay, why family, etc. Okay, so what is the vision that you have for your apostolate there? Okay, see, something to summarize.
Hey, Michael, so what is the vision? The vision? Can you be more explicit, please?
Okay, this is just my opinion, okay, because there are different opinions. It's to form the nucleus of the kingdom of God, which is fraternal love through the ministry of the word. There's one number of the constitutions that says that, okay? So that's the vision for which we aim everything. Why do we focus on baptism? It's not about baptism. It's not about rights and duties. It's not just about even having apostles, but apostles for what? No, Verbum Dei family for what? So all this points to something which has to be big enough to encapsulate all this, that we understand why we do what we do. No, so at least that's for what I think. No, so forming apostles for me is an objective. It's an objective. It's the clearest objective and the primary objective, but it's not the vision yet. That's, I mean, according to this kind of terms. No, so this is Verbum Dei, okay, but let's try to see in your apostolate, what is the vision there? Okay. Second question, is it okay? I just trying to go through. So in my own example also is something to do with the vision is that will orient everything towards that that vision, okay, that you are doing for that time frame. That's why it's all interconnected. The vision of the kingdom is until the end of time, but in the time frame that you have, what is the vision that you are aiming for? Okay. So then the why, no? The why, actually, normally, I think it's a little mistake there. We should start with the why. Okay, the why will give you the vision. Because from the why, you will know what to do. And if you notice in the, at least a sample that I provided there, the why is the longest part. Because you are really trying to analyze the historical situation, or the historical, not as in the past, but the real situation, the signs of the times, in order to project a vision that is specific enough to address those signs of the times. So we need to analyze the signs of the times, of the context and the culture where we are. No, we cannot just repeat it from place to place. So the why are the concrete needs or situation that you have seen, especially if you've been there for a while. You see things, you sense that these people are not like the other people that I knew before. They have other kinds of desires, motivations, attitudes, needs even. Maybe anthropologically, we say there are different signs perhaps of brokenness. There are different signs of talents that one culture has and the other doesn't have. So we need to analyze all these. No, remember the See, Judge, Act. So we have to see. This is what will motivate your entire project. Okay, but when you present the project to other people, you have to say the what first, of course. No, but the basis of your what is your why. That will really give strength to your project. Okay, so the what and the why will be your primary work in the analysis and trying to figure out and define it. And the third one is we are starting to get specific already. For whom is it? Are you going to help the whole of Philippines? Are you going to help the whole of your area? The whole diocese? Are you going to help this group of people? Which is this group of people that you are directing your project to? Okay, the ones whom we are targeting, groups or individuals, we have to be very clear who are this group. even if they are a virtual group. I mean, virtual in the sense they don't exist yet. Okay, this group doesn't exist yet, but at least we know the quality of this kind of group we want, or we are aiming at. Okay, if they exist already, better. If not, that's why it depends on what is the stage of the formation of that group, no, or the reality. So for my case, it was already an existent group, so I couldn't invent another group, but I had to take on something that was already done by others. So you have to see what is your group. Okay. Next question, more specific already. So you have your target audience. What is your methodology? Okay, so this is your vision. This is the reason what you want to do. This is what you want to do, whom you want to do it for. What is your method? What is your process? What is your program? No, very important. When somebody wants to do something and doesn't present a program, I really doubt what the person has in mind, no? Because it's not concrete. We need a program, activities, etc., methodology, okay, a calendar. So short-term goals or objectives. Now we come to the goals and objectives that will support that vision. Okay, so if my vision is the kingdom, the nucleus of the kingdom, so what are my short-term goals? I need to train people how to preach, to dedicate their lives to the ministry of the word. I need to help them to feel the call to consecration. I need them to know that their profile is apostle, that they can be formed as apostles. So all these becomes the goals or objectives that can fit that vision or support it. So this is where it will take a bit of time to really think clearly what are the steps there. Okay, goals and then specific objectives to be achieved. Okay, so your objectives will be what you will really take care of during the year or during the time of the project. Okay, so vision, then the goal. Okay, the goal is form apostles. But what are the objectives behind that I have to do in order to reach the goal that I will have apostles? Right? I need some objectives and methods to do behind that. Okay, this one is a very short line question, but it's a lot of thinking to do. Okay, but the next one is also very important in order to be realistic. How much do you want to achieve? Okay, so this is my vision. I want to convert Fininvest to I don't know, or Pasig, this center to be filled with full of people of all kinds of apostolate, family of God, etc. Okay, so what are the expectations for this time frame that you have? No, what are the desired goals at the end of that time period of the project in order to review and to evaluate? Okay, so to review and evaluate. So when we fix goals, don't worry, don't overthink your goals. I'm trying to say here. No, you can reevaluate them. Don't worry. But the important thing is to have a goal, and so that you know whether you failed or you succeeded. And if you succeeded, great, continue doing what you're doing. But if you failed, okay, then try and analyze what happened there. No, so it's important to have expectations, but be prepared also for frustration, and failure. If we are able to face that, then we can improve things. Okay, and of course, set practical time frames. Okay, don't judge yourself too quickly. Sometimes the story of the boy who was planting rice, and every day when the sapling was growing, he will pull it up a little higher so that it will grow faster. No, is it growing? And you pull it a little up. Is it growing? You pull it a little more. Is it growing? And then the plant dies. so don't judge yourself too quickly. The fruits that you expect. Give yourself a proper time frame to evaluate. These expectations that you have. Okay, to maintain what is good, and also to improve what needs to be improved. There's really this saying that I really like. If something is doing well, don't change it. Why do we have to change it just because maybe your personality doesn't fit it. Maybe it's because it's something that others did before and you are not doing it. But if it's working well, just continue doing it. No, just be a bit humble and continue the work that was done. Only if it's not working. But another saying is, if you are doing the same thing for 5 years and nothing is changing, maybe it's time to rethink a little bit that you could do something different. No, so once again, if you can see, the time frame makes a lot of difference. Give yourself time to let things work. Things, if they work, continue growing there. But if they don't work, it's time to analyze and to change whether to change or not. No. Um, so this is the difficult balance. I think in the practice, how to find the balance there. So periodic evaluation within the time frame of the project is also useful. So perhaps twice a year you can evaluate. Try not to evaluate every month. No, you did 4 schools of the word and then you evaluate again. Nothing is happening. But 4 weeks is a bit, you can do it for 6 months. Maybe then you can evaluate. No, or we've done 6 months and etc. Don't evaluate only once a year, I would say, because that means you're just starting again. No, so find a proper time frame to evaluate. That will not be too heavy for you, like too much evaluation. But at the same time, you can insert improvements time and again. I give you an example. No? Yesterday, I was saying many times our school of the word is choosing who to preach, right? But it's okay. Most of the time, we just have to do that. We don't have time to keep evaluating at the school of the word every week. We evaluate the school of the word if it's working or not. So maybe we have too many things to do. But maybe after 2 months, 3 months, you could maybe then you can see, is this working or not? Or I'm just giving time frames according just out of the air, right? Also, so you just see what are your time frames there. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to say in this, how much is trust in the pedagogy of time. Okay, we need time. That's why when we are assigned to an apostolate for just 1 year, it's hard to evaluate if things are working or if you're effective or not. For me personally, I'm talking about a full-time apostolic life. It took me 3 years to really start to understand what the apostolate is about. So not even whether it works or doesn't work, but to really understand the dynamics in a certain place. So if you really want to evaluate things, you need time in a place. No, for at least this is what I understand. Okay, what are the implications? It's up to you. Okay, so next slide. So, next question. So we've seen already how much the expectations. Time frame. Once again, when do you want to do it? I was given an example yesterday, a meeting that we had. No, we have been talking and talking, but we never said when we will start. or we didn't talk about the frequency of the activity. So remember what I said about when to start and when to end. It's very important because then it forces you to get going, to try it. Sometimes the problem is we are afraid, to start things, to fail again. Or I'm talking on my personal experience. Okay, because if you keep trying again and again, sometimes it does get tiring. That's why we need a lot of prayer life, for this, and a lot of capacity for frustration. But the time frame really forces us to get up and go again. So time frame to give oneself in order to work and to put a calendar to the activities. Okay, so when I was doing family counseling, there was something that really struck me in the advice given. You have to teach couples to keep projecting their lives, to sit down and at the table to plan their lives. Why? Because planning means hope for the future. When a couple stops planning their life, it means they are not expecting anything anymore. So how important for a couple to keep on projecting, sitting down and dreaming of their future. If you remember, Pope Francis himself said, the capacity to dream implies that you have the capacity still to love. If you don't dream for your family anymore, it means you are already tired of loving somehow. No, we cannot generalize, but it's just a principle, like somehow to help us to see how important to project a calendar. When we stop projecting, even in a pandemic, if we stop projecting, I think we really need to think about that. No, so how to project makes you think, how are you going to actually do it? How are you going to do more online activities in the time of pandemic? Can you really reach out? And maybe you'll find creative ideas. But if you don't project, you don't give time frames and calendars, then it will not force you to bring out your creativity and your response. No. Okay, let's go on to the where. Where are you going to do this project? Very important. The regular place of gathering. No, I put there. Meetings, activities, but also the context of it all. So where are you? Which place, which context of mission are you in? Just now we talked about the specific group of people. Are they in a specific context that you see? So our context now is, for example, is the pandemic. That's the context. We have to factor it in. So where are you going to do it? Online. So for example, no? Okay, online, what platform are you going to use? Zoom, Messenger, I don't know, chat room, no example, etc. If you don't think about the where, sometimes you'll be paralyzed. You think you can't do anything. But if you think of the where, maybe there are others who know where. So the where is very important because it's the space to gather. I'm not sure if some of you have heard of this group in Philippines, an offshoot of the Couples for Christ called Gawat Kalinga. Gawat Kalinga is a group that does very practical work for the poor, farmers, villagers. And the main concept that they have to help the poor is to give them space. Why? Because if you go to a family, perhaps that is a tendency of poverty is lack of space. So everything happens in the same space. So for a growing child, when they don't have that space, they cannot explore. Imagine they can hear whatever their parents are doing at night. No, they have no space to study. Noise is a problem. There's no space just to be a child, perhaps. So the concept of Dawat Kalinga is provide people with a space, and then they will flourish. And you cannot imagine how successful that is. Of course, they provide livelihood. Even to provide livelihood, you need a space to teach them, to train them. So the concept of space, this question where is not a secondary question. Now let's think about it later. No. Space, place gives an identity to a group. So if you keep changing your place also, you have to think about it. And I think all of us have experienced that. When you keep changing your place of apostolate, your people also find it hard to persevere because of identity. No, unless you want to escape from them, then it's good to change. No, okay. So that's different. So where? No, where? What is the space you are going to provide? Whether it's physical or virtual space. Next, you can think a lot there, no emotional space and all that, but that's too deep already for this time. So next is who, okay, who? Who are you counting on? What are the human resources that you have or that you need? So, okay, I'm me, and me. No, that's terrible, no? So I think we need to expand that because many times our projects really, if you come to the bottom of it, it's just me. Because we haven't communicated it to anyone, we haven't learned how to work with others, etc. Well, this is again, all these are exaggerations, okay? But it's important to really think of who you have and realize you have to work with them. Who do you have with you? This one, this one, this one. That one. Yeah. There's this Chinese expression. Maybe for those who know Chinese, it's called 矮子中选将军. I don't know if you have heard that before, no? So you are trying to choose generals, but all you have are short people. So your army are full of short people. You want tall people, but you don't have them. So it's not a joke against you, Chris. So it's just an idiomatic expression, okay? So sometimes that's our situation. This is the one you have. So how are you going to work with this person or that person? And this has a lot of reflection of our fraternal relationships also, because these are the ones, the closest ones that you have the ones you can count on. And we need to learn to work with the ones we can count on. There may be very capable disciples in the apostolate, but you cannot count on them as you would count your brother or your sister in community. So this is a very important reflection on the who. It doesn't mean that you need to limit yourselves to your apostolic team. Of course, we can look for other resources to complement us. So, okay, this is who I have, that's who I have, that's who I have, and that's it. But it doesn't mean we have to limit ourselves to these. Okay, it's just to admit that these are our strengths as a team, and we need to maximize it, and we need to complement with other resources, human resources, that maybe we cannot expect so much commitment, and we need to learn another way of dealing with them. Sometimes this is our frustration. We expect lay missionary disciples to be as committed as ourselves. There is a reason, dear brothers and sisters, why we are consecrated. Okay, so we cannot expect the same level of commitment from them, even though they're disciples, they're preaching Verbum Day all the time, but they're not consecrated. So they may be lay consecrated, but lay consecrated has implications of family life, work, etc. So once again, if we need to be complemented by others, we have to develop a certain communication style with them that will not turn them off from what we expect from them, but at the same time entrust them with the correct level of expectations where they can contribute. Remember the constitutions, the expression always in the level of their possibilities. Okay, but as much as possible. Okay, so who these are us, we just have to accept it. Okay, the ones we really can count on are these talents. And then the rest, we have to try to find a way to get their help. Okay, so who, very important to consider in these projects. Okay, I'm really explaining too much. So which, anyway, we're finishing soon. Which resources? So one thing is human resources and other material resources, so to speak, okay? Financial. I'm very sorry, but if you don't have money, it's hard to project. And this is something to reflect a lot about in our vow of poverty. What does poverty mean for us? To not have anything, just to survive, and to be a testimony of God's providence in survival, or really to look for resources to expand our mission. I think nowadays in our generation in Verbum Day, we can talk more about it already. So there was a time when it was really just to survive, to be a testimony of providence. We still are, okay? We still are when we beg, when we ask for help, when we solicit funds, we do fundraising. We have to develop that spirituality of fundraising amongst all of us because it's for the mission that we are projecting, okay, for expansion. So financial resources, skills. Do we ourselves need to learn more skills? This morning we talked about leadership, management, or can we be complemented by the skills of others to let others teach us those skills? Or maybe they can be the ones to handle things that we don't know how to handle. No, that could be something also to consider. What is the balance there? Are they teaching us skills according to our charism? How can we share the charism while they teach us those skills? That is our task as missionaries. And we cannot just delegate it to them, but we have to accompany that process. Skills or expertise, information. Maybe we are not informed. That could be a problem. Sometimes the problem is if we are not informed, we don't know that we are not informed. That's a challenge. So if you know that you're not informed, means you are informed already. So the problem is we are not aware, we're not informed. And what can be a certain mechanism in the community to continue forcing us to be informed, not looking for information, etc. No, permanent formation could be one avenue for us. We have perpetual vows, regular formations, but other mechanisms we can think of. Most of the time, relationship with the family will keep us informed, the Verbum Day family, because the people the know are the people who are in the world most of the time. Okay, then knowledge, of course, of things, experience. Maybe sometimes we lack experience and we just have to be patient and to gain it. That is something to consider. So lack of experience is not a problem. It will come, it will be resolved with time. And materials as well, no? Things that we need. We really have to think concretely, what do we need in an apostolic house? So, okay, these are the things that maybe are very logical, but we need to really consider them and think through them, the resources. And of course, the last one, from whom? From whom are we going to get these resources? Once again, it could be benefactors, it could be people from the family, it could be other missionaries from other communities. In other words, you can see that all this means a lot of creativity and looking for ways to meet the needs. So, okay, so I think it's all very clear already, clear enough, at least the questions. Now, I would like to invite you to break out into teams. Okay, can you all turn on your microphones for a bit? I will just, so we can break into teams in order to do this project by teams.